Good afternoon, or good morning, good evening, wherever you are all over the world. Today we're going to be introducing one of my favorite units from FilmGear USA. And it's also the winner of the 2019 Best New Products. It's the Helios 700 and the Helios 1000 space lights. That's what they are. Yeah. So we'll let Chris go ahead and discuss the functionality of the units.
So these units are bicolor units, meaning they range from one end of the color spectrum, tungsten, all the way to daylight. So that would be 2700 Kelvin to 6000 Kelvin. And here we have presets where you can easily navigate and just put in whichever one you need. And then with just the click of this dial, you have access to the entire menu, and you can go and do color temperatures in between the presets that we have, and you can also control your dimming 1 all the way up to 100. You can input your DMX address here, and here are the inputs. As you can see, we have the 500 and 700 hooked up on DMX right now, and along on the menu, we also have a consistent temperature reading and your amperage consumption. It takes a PowerCon power. Right here, this is the yoke mount in case you want to set it up on a stand, and we also have a chain mount for hanging. If I flip this around, you can see that we have our softbox attachment. This is unique to the 1K and 700, and we also have skirts as well, and black skirts that go along with those as well.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with discussing we have two different types of technologies in the 700 and the 500 share the same technology, which is SMD LED types, and then the 1000 uses COB, chip on board technology. And the difference between the two is the COB is a single dyno per color. So it has one large chip for the daylight and one large chip for the tungsten side of the units. And combined, you'll get a full 6K output at roughly 45 degrees Kelvin. If you switch to one dyno, you'll get full output of 6K equivalent from the daylight or 6K equivalent from the tungsten side.
And I can just demonstrate that quickly for you right here. This is one end, and then this is the daylight bulb. And if you were to go in between, you can see one's come on as the other turns off. And so we have our Helios 700 and our Helios 500 hooked up on DMX, and they are all being controlled through our wireless remote. And so you have one channel for your dimming and one channel for your color temperature. And this is pretty much how they would be used in a studio setting. You have control over all your space lights through one easy control. And so just with the flip of a switch, you can go from daylight to tungsten. And these are all daisy chainable. The 700 is a 6K output, and the 500 is a 2K output.
What's really interesting about the 700 and the 500, the type of dynos that they use, and it's the surface mount diodes, which also has a Fresnel, which what it does is it spreads the beam even wider, which can give you from a 700 watt output light, it can give you the equivalent of a 6K, and this is a 500 watt output light, which can give you equivalent to a 2K output from a standard tungsten, space light, which is really useful with both of these two units, with actually all three, is if you're switching from daylight to tungsten, or 5500 to 3200 degrees Kelvin, you don't have to go up in the air and switch out gels, which is efficient for manpower, and sometimes certain locations it's very difficult to get up into the light to be able to switch gels from tungsten to daylight. So this keeps manpower from going out and going up in the air, switching out gels, and also these units, they have a 35,000 hour LED, or even more in some cases, depends on how you use it, but at least 35,000 hours of runtime. So that also, a traditional tungsten space light, you don't get that much time. You're going to have to go up there and change out bulbs. This keeps you from going up in the air changing bulbs, which makes it a lot more efficient. Something else that really makes this light really efficient is the power consumption and the heat output. When you're hanging these lights, all the heat it draws up to the top, which makes can make the space that you're lighting very hot. So being that these are LED, it won't get as hot in the space that you're lighting, and also you don't have as much of a problem with your connectors. When the heat rises to the top, it gets the connectors real hot, and sometimes they can melt. But being that these are LED and they have a nice heat sink to dissipate the heat, you won't have as many problems with the outlets and the connectors and things like that.
So I noticed that the 1K has a yoke mount. Does that mean you can use it as a directional light, like something that has a 6K output on such a small form factor being directional like that?
Yes, you can. You can, with our octo bag that we just took off, you can create something very similar to what the Sky Panel, or even similar to a Breezy. So you can use it as a beauty light, which is efficient for on the ground, close to set, close to camera. It wraps around people's face and gives you a nice beauty light.
And as you can see here, we have our brand new product, the Spacelight 700 RGB. This light is unique to the other ones because it has our RGB technology, which is not only just RGB, it also has bicolor and gel mode and scene mode. And so I'll take you through the menus. Here you can see we're on HSI mode, which is hue, saturation, intensity, and that's what these three bars here are. And then these dials also correspond to those with the color as well. So you can see that I can bring up the intensity right here, and it is very specific. It goes even between numbers with decimals, and then you can cycle through your color spectrum here, and then here in the middle you have control over your saturation, so you can bring down saturation on any of the colors that you choose. And then if we move on to CCT mode, this is pretty familiar to our bicolor lights, where you have the spectrum here that you can quickly cycle through. But on this unit, you can go past the presets all the way to 10,000 Kelvin and as low as 2,500. And here you can control your green and magenta tint as well if you need to balance with other LED lights or in camera. And moving on, we have gel mode. And here you can see it has the numbers, if you know the number of the gel that you are looking for. And then we have our own names for these different gels here. And you have control over your intensity here as well. And then you can balance your gels from either daylight to tungsten with the flip of this knob. And this space light is also unique because you do have control over your fans. You can choose to turn them off and they'll come back on when they reach a certain temperature, or you can just leave it on auto and it'll come on in different intervals depending on how hot the unit is getting.
Okay, just like the other space lights, the other Helios units that we have, you can you can yoke mount it or you can hang it. The advantage of using this unit is you have full RGB spectrum. So you could, if you're lighting sites, if you're lighting ambient spaces, if you're doing pools of light with soft bags or black skirts, you have the advantage of being able to switch the color. You can switch the color RGB to any color you would like, which is great for creative type things. That's not as not like a narrative show, but more of a fantasy thing where you're going to be using colors.
And another thing to mention is right here on the menu side, you have your DMX in and outs, and then you also have your Ethernet port for inputting your own scenes. So you can customize a scene that you have in mind, you can upload it to here, and then you can just play it out and maybe DMX a bunch of these in your studio and play out a very specific color scene that you might have in mind.
Do these also have the ability to do directional lighting? Because that sounds pretty cool, like having a 6K equivalent output on a small, thin form factor like that.
Yes, so these are also, they can take the softbox attachment that we had shown before, or you can utilize it just like a traditional space light with a skirt. And like Mozzie said before, we have the yoke mount option if in case you want to make it a directional light, and also the chain here if you want to hang it up.
Do you need a ballast for something like this?
No, all the power is in the unit. It's a pretty slim unit, and then it also has the built-in heatsink as well.
Roughly how much does something like this weigh?
It roughly weighs 40 pounds.
And does this also have the availability for the skirts and whatnot? And if so, does something like that come with it, or is it separate?
Yes, so on purchase of one of our space lights, you do get a silk and a black skirt. And we have varying sizes. We have the long skirt and the short skirt.
And dots. The bottom insert. Soft diffusion from the bottom. This unit can be used just like a standard space light. You can make soft boxes. You can light sites. You can, that's from a hanging position. And if you wanted to use it on the ground, you could use it as, if you use the octo bag, like we have here, you can use it as a key light with the advantage of having RGB color spectrum.
Introducing the first RGB space light engineered by FilmGear. Inspired by our award-winning bicolor Helios series, the Helios RGB 700 embodies our vision for the future of LED space lights. Pioneered for astonishing durability, versatility, and reliability. Featuring 4 custom light modes for a unique light control experience. HSI mode. Explore your imagination with the full spectrum of color. Navigate between hue, saturation, and intensity to create your perfect colorful environment. With fully customizable color output, your creativity is the limit. Gel mode, next level lighting efficiency, preloaded with hundreds of industry standard gel filters. Any filter you need is at a touch of a button. Scene mode, all your scenes polarized in one. 8 pre-programmed scenes, police car, storm, fire, party, candle, TV, fireworks, and club, and the capability of importing your own. CCT mode, a bicolor experience like no other. Color temperature ranging from 2500 to 10,000 Kelvin, providing a wider range than ever before. 5 quick presets partnered with 3 precision dials for dimming, color temperature adjustment, and green magenta balance control. LED lifespan beyond 30,000 hours. Power draw of less than 10 amps for a 6K light output. And a CRI over 95. Offering full DMX control, AC/DC power inputs, and daisy chain capabilities. Accessories include a softbox attachment and a stirrup option, allowing it to be used as both a hanging set or a sky pan. Exceptional 2-year factory warranty, providing the highest level of customer service. The Helios RGB 700. Infinite capabilities, limitless possibilities.